This broadcast is the property of Codependents Anonymous. Reproduction without written permission from Codependents Anonymous is not permitted.
Again, my name is David. I'm codependent, and along with James K., we are the co-hosts of the Fellowship Forum. Today's topic is CoDA service, and with us today to speak on that topic is Patrick B. Welcome, Patrick, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. Do you want me to say a few words now?
Yes, please, if you would.
Sure. So the topic is CoDA service, and I think becoming involved in CoDA service. Anyway, service for me started a long time ago when I was introduced in another fellowship, the value of service, and it had to do with starting a new routine of life, and I needed something else to do besides what I used to do. And there were some people around that I noticed that were genuinely happy being in a fellowship. And at that time, I thought that those people were on drugs because they were always happy. Well, I was mistaken. I found out by observation that those people were genuinely happy. And I found out how. I kind of watched them, and they were doing things for the fellowship. And I was able to get involved pretty quickly because I had a willingness to do whatever it took to change my way of life. And although I didn't have much time in, I was able to be of service by emptying coffee cups and washing the dishes, the cups after the meeting, and I helped them clean up. And at that time, there was smoking in the rooms, and I'd empty ashtrays and sweep the floor. And so that was my kind of introduction to service. But my observation of the people that were genuinely happy was that they were people that were involved in doing stuff for the fellowship. And it was appealing to me because I didn't want to be in a fellowship and miserable. So I believe that really helped me to be a part of it and to start to understand it more. And they permitted me to kind of hang out with them because anybody that's involved in service, I think, genuinely hang out with other people that are involved in service. So it just really struck me early that it was important to, in order to be not just around the fellowship, but to be a part of the fellowship, to engage in some kind of a service. And one of the other things that really intrigued me was one of the co-founders of the fellowship that started these steps that we work in, 12-step fellowship, was asked, why does he spend so much time doing what he does in service and in sharing his experiences and helping out? And he said he does it for 4 reasons. And number 1 was a sense of duty. Number 2, it is a pleasure. Number 3, because in doing so, I am paying my debt to the man who took time to pass it on to me. And number 4, because every time I do it, I take out a little more insurance for myself against a possible slip. And a slip can be anything. I can slip back into codependent thinking and behavior if I don't stay consistent with recovery in a pretty quick hurry. But being involved in service, I have my mind more aimed at healing and recovery from codependent behavior is more on the forefront of my mind when I'm doing service work. So anyway, that's, if anybody's new that wonders how do you get involved in service, it's pretty easy. You just raise your hand. I stayed after the business or group conscience meeting once, and I raised my hand to go to the bathroom, and I've been busy doing service ever since because they thought I wanted to volunteer for something, but I just had to go potty. But anyways, so it's pretty easy to get involved, and I know it can be a little bit daunting for people initially to say, "Hey, I'd like to be able to do something for the group." The fear factor, and the group I'm most active in right now, we make it really easy for anyone to be involved, and we encourage that. There's no requirement for how long you've been coming in order to do some of the things in our group, and I think the way that we are able to do that, and we have the ability to have somebody chair different at every meeting. We have 2 a week, and are able to allow a different chairperson for every meeting, so that can be spread around pretty well. And I really enjoy that for our group because it does help people to get more involved. They can open the meeting and set it up, and we always have somebody assist them if it's their first time. So it allows everybody in the group to be able to be a part of it, and that it doesn't seem like, well, it's somebody else's group. If you see somebody opening and chairing every single meeting for a long time, which I know can happen because there aren't often a lot of volunteers to do that, but then people seem to get a sense of like it's just a name out of the blue. Well, it's George's meeting because he opens it and sets up all the time. Well, it's not. It's everybody's meeting. So that so our group's ability to allow everybody to be able to chair and alternate that helps a lot. It stops burnout too. But so that if somebody were to ask me, how do I get involved in service, it'd be pretty easy for me to help them understand. And our group does a pretty good job, I think, at helping people understand that. Maybe we could do a better job. I was thinking about that earlier today. What could we do better to encourage people to get involved and understand that the value of it? And I often pray for guidance for things like that. And I haven't really gotten any answers yet. The only answer I got is, well, maybe bring it up today at the forum and see if anybody else has insights as to how I can help encourage people to get involved, and how how we as a fellowship can help them understand the great value there is in it. I've seen people flourish that got involved in service that previously hadn't been, and they were kind of surprised how much more they got out of being in service. And there's challenges that go along with it, but there's certainly, like, I don't hold an office at this point, like not office, but a trusted servant position per se. But I do print things off for the group, and when I and read and update things that they need printed, and send out welcome packets via email to new people that attend. And I like doing that because I very often am reading what I'm sending out, and even though some of it's already in form, but it keeps me focused on recovery because I'm sending out recovery material, and so that's a part of staying involved, and I don't want to be I don't know what they call it, bleeding deacon. So I try to step back as much as I can. I do have some experience in service, and sometimes people come to me for some guidance, but I don't want them to lean on me so much for insight as to gain it themselves through doing the service work. And I think that's valuable too, because I know changes need to happen as everything progresses, and I don't want to be a bleeding deacon and be pounding my fist on the table saying, no, this can't change because this is the way we used to do it back in the olden days. I don't want to be like that. I like to see new things, and in the last 5 years, CoDA has come out with some great new literature, and there's a lot of people doing. I don't know if a lot of people. There are some people doing some really good work for the fellowship, and I know my mother told me once she was pretty involved in an organization, and she had vented to me one time that in her view that 95% of the people beef about the 5% of the people that are doing the work. And in my experience, I'd have to say there's a little more than 5% of the people doing the work, but the majority of the people aren't yet in service. So my question to the forum is if anybody has any ideas how we as a fellowship or I as an individual can help people understand that it's really important and helpful for them to get involved in service work, and also somehow convey that there's a great value in doing so, and it doesn't take being the president or anything, it doesn't take holding a high office or whatever. It just everybody is equally important, and through service I think people can start to understand that. And when our group started to study and focus a lot on the traditions, I saw that helped a lot of people understand a little bit better what the service structure was about and why this fellowship continues to work. So I guess I don't have a lot more to say that because I'm probably preaching to the choir, because the people that are dedicated to this forum probably already understand the value of service work. That's just a guess, but because it's a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and people have taken their time to come here and listen to some old guy spiel about service. But I understand that they know that staying in touch with the fellowship, no matter what, through some kind of service, and even showing up at meetings is being of service. And so I appreciate everybody taking time out of their day to show up here. And I don't think there's very much more I can add to that, except that I'm grateful. I don't have to do any of this. I get to do this. And there's a big difference for me in my head when I stay focused on I get to do this. Because I used to spend a whole lot more time and energy trying to mop up the results of my codependent living than I do. Even if I spent 5 hours a day doing service work, it wouldn't be nearly close to the energy and time I spent on living codependently. So for me, it's a matter of I don't have to do service. Nobody has to, but I get to do service. And I'm honored to be able to do that. And I just get excited when I can share a tiny bit of information with somebody that can find the freedom from that lifestyle. And it's all worth it when I see somebody have a light bulb go off and say, "Oh, no is a complete sentence," and I don't have to let my worth be determined by what other people think of me. And so I think that's what keeps me coming back and staying involved. Plus, I really believe I have my rememberer isn't the best. So for me, I need to stay consistent so that I don't forget where I came from. So anyway, any input on what anybody thinks, how it can be promoted more? I would surely be open to any suggestions or ideas and any feedback about that. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me and having me on today to talk a little bit about my experience.
Thank you, Patrick, for being here today and sharing your experience, strength, and hope on CoDA service with us. I really appreciate that. And amends to you for just throwing you in the deep end without giving you a heads up of how it works around here. And you just grabbed the ball and ran with it. Excellent job. I wonder if you would mind if you're able to repeat those 4 things that you got from the person that introduced you to CoDA service to this program.
Oh yeah, that wasn't the person that introduced me. That was I don't want to violate any traditions, but it was one of the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh, okay.
And his 4 reasons were: 1, a sense of duty; 2, it is a pleasure; 3, because in so doing, I am paying my debt to the man who took time to pass it on to me; and 4, because every time I do it, I take out a little more insurance for myself against a possible slip.
Excellent. Thank you. James, do you have anything to add to this discussion on CoDA service, on trusted service?
David, I loved Patrick's presentation. It was humble, and it was great. I really liked it. I could add some things, but I was going to make some comments about my service and the way my world grew when I got into CoDA service. And just one instance that happened was that when COVID came around, I was the treasurer in my group. And because I was the treasurer, we were just flailing about. We didn't know what to do. So we got a Zoom account, and because I was the treasurer, I became the Zoom person, and it took me off in another direction, which I never probably would have gone in. And I I have a, I took over I helped out on the night meeting so they could have a Zoom meeting, and we kept the group going, and it was just so spontaneous. And that's what service does. It pulls you in where there's a need. If you're there and there's the need, it just pulls you in. Like I joined the H&I committee, and then while I was there, they needed a sponsorship coordinator, and now I coordinate all the sponsors and sponsees for the inmates all over the country. And I just want to put a plug in for that today. I need a lot of sponsors. I've gotten more sponsees in my program this month than I ever have in the last 3 years that I've been doing it. I need 10 sponsors. I need 5 males and 5 female sponsors for inmates. That's all I wanted to say right now. I might make a comment later on, and I'll pass. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Patrick, are you available for questions?
Sure. Yeah.
Great. If anyone has a question, you can raise your hand or unmute yourself and speak up.
I just wanted to add a quick thing. This is Patrick again. When it was COVID was brought up, our group also got a Zoom account, and we started to do our meeting via Zoom. And so our meeting survived because, we just showed up at our regular meeting place one day, and there was a big sign on the door due to COVID. We're, no longer having meetings here. So that was a whole new adventure for some of us. I wasn't familiar with Zoom. I'd never heard of it before, but we made an account and did that. And so, through that, I think some things evolved. I mean, would we even be here today on this fellowship forum via Zoom if that hadn't happened? You know what I'm saying? But I think it helped some people be able to participate behind the scenes more, because I know sometimes to chair a meeting, some people don't like to be right in the spotlight. But if they can be kind of behind the scenes doing something, it's a little more comfortable for them at first. But the ability to, and so we kept Zoom, and we still have it. So we simulcast, or they call it a hybrid meeting. We still do it for our meeting. So anybody that might not be able to drive to our meeting, or there's bad weather, or they live, pretty far away and don't like to drive at night, they can still attend our regular meeting on Zoom. So that was interesting how that has changed some of the ability for people to be able to be involved. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put, I've tried to catch, if I didn't get it right, let me know, Patrick, the 4 reasons for doing trusted service: sense of duty, the pleasure, repays the debt, and ensures against backsliding. That the 4 items you listed. And if you want to tweak those, let me know. I'll try to get it right better. I'm trying to do it a little better.
Yeah, that's 4 really good reasons.
Yeah. Well, I would say certainly this aligns with the 12th step. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to other codependents and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And also the, let's see, is it the 11th tradition? I'll try and get that right. Yes, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, films, television, and all other public forms of communication. I would say that doing service is one of the best ways to demonstrate attraction rather than promotion that I know. I got drawn into service after years of refusing to do anything other than set up chairs or make coffee or bring donuts or cookies to a meeting and just showing up. And I had all kinds of excuses, but I got persuaded to do service by a couple of people in my now home group who held my hand and encouraged me. And what I discovered was before that, I thought doing service was very much about paying back the debt. And I learned by doing service, there was an area of the onion that I didn't know existed, that I was experiencing levels of awareness about my recovery that if I weren't doing service, I don't think I would realize or know anything about. So for me, service has become a deepening awareness of of what I can do to be in recovery. So I'm grateful for service. For me, I consider service the secret sauce, and I'm really happy to be involved in this way. Are there any questions for Patrick? Any comments or feedback anyone would like to make?
Yes, my name is Denise, and I'm from Nevada.
Hi, Denise.
I have
Welcome.
a couple of questions.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone's service today and providing all this wonderful information and sharing that. I do appreciate it. I wondered if, I believe it might have been James who mentioned seeking out 5 female and 5 male sponsors. I wondered if he would be able to expand on what that would look like. I'm not certain if I heard that correctly. He was looking for sponsors for inmates. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. It's an anonymous program. It's called Hospitals and Institutions, and it's done through the mail. And you send your reply to Arizona to CoDA's office, and then they send it to the prison. It all goes through CoDA's office, so no mail ever comes to your house. And I never let anybody's return address leave the spreadsheet. Everything goes, it all goes to the Arizona address. I'm very careful about that. And you can correspond with the inmate, and it's perfectly safe.
Would it be beneficial for me to have a conversation with you outside of this particular forum regarding that type of sponsorship?
Yes, I can put my email in the chat.
I actually, because I've called in on phone, I don't have access to viewing any messages or chats.
Right.
What would be the next best way for me to get in touch with you? Or could you get in touch with me?
Well, sure, I could call you.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great.
Just put your phone number in the chat and I'll give you a call.
It's a little hard. It's a little hard for Denise to, if you tap the screen, I don't know if you have a smartphone, Denise. If you do, the 3 dots. If you tap the screen, you'll get 3 dots and then you can see the chat there. I did put the hospitals and institutions email address in the chat, but I can say it to you. It's pretty simple. It's HOSP, HOSP, HOSP at CoDA.org. You can drop an email there, and that way James and I are both members of that committee. We can reach out to you and give you some more information. And thank you for your for your interest in that service.
Thank you. I appreciate that information. Thank you so
Sure.
much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'll be getting in touch with you too about that. There's a lot of ways people can get involved. And I just wanted to add that I'm a member of several fellowships because I'm tall. You don't have to be tall to be involved in several. But I used to think it was because I'm sicker than others, but now I know it's because I believe the wider your base, the taller the tree can grow. But in these other fellowships, just the sponsors, well, the fellowship in general really encourages getting involved in service because people do. It's been proven, and in my experience as well, that people that get involved in service work are more apt to succeed. In one particular fellowship, there's only a 4% survival rate or recovery rate. And when a member is willing to be involved in service work, that percentage goes up to like 35%. So there's quite a swing there.
Yeah.
But so, and you know, if anybody has any ideas of how I can or we can and stuff, I'm really open to, you know, how can we approach someone? How can I approach someone and talk to them about helping them understand that we need them, and you know, for some support in service and the benefits that they will receive from doing that. So I'm sitting here with my pen and paper and ready to hear any suggestions. I know you guys and girls have some idea. Maybe I'm crazy, you know, and I know we're powerless over others, but just helping to get that out there. If you know any ideas at all would be very well.
Yes. And one of the things as you consider getting involved in service work, rotation of service positions, trusted servant positions, is one of the things that helps keep our fellowship strong. So if and when you do, and I hope you do, get involved in some kind of service, even if it's just setting up chairs, when you get someone to help you, you can pass on that service position, whatever it is, to someone. Yes, Annie, I see your hand up. Welcome.
Hello. I've been enjoying this session today, and I wanted to just chime in with an idea of what our group has done as far as helping to get some new people involved in service positions. And it's sometimes difficult to get people to commit to being the treasurer, the secretary, and so forth, or even chairing meetings. But a couple of things that have really helped. First of all, our group tries to have, for example, a treasurer and a co-treasurer. So that the sitting treasurer is responsible for, you know, taking care of the money, keeping the ledger and so forth. And the co-treasurer is sort of learning that job as an assistant, or to be there when perhaps the treasurer can't be there. But it's not as full of a commitment as being the treasurer. So it allows people to kind of get their feet wet. And if they're a little hesitant to step up to volunteer for a trusted servant position, they might be more apt to say yes to, okay, I'm going to assist, I'm going to learn. And then by the time a year has gone by, often they're ready to say, okay, now I know what it's all about. I know how much time is involved. Now I would be willing to be the treasurer. And then we get hopefully another person to step in as the co-treasurer. So we've also split up secretary duties so that one person isn't responsible for doing all the work of the secretary. In our group, that was pretty substantial. So we split it up and offered people the opportunity to just take on one aspect of the secretary duties. And that has gotten more people involved as well. The other thing I wanted to say, if I can remember, inviting people. For example, when I was new to CoDA, I noticed that it seemed that there were certain people who always did the work of setting up and taking down. And it may have just been my impression and not their intent that I wasn't part of doing that. One thing that made me feel part of the group was when I walked into a meeting and sat down, and someone who had been scheduled to chair the meeting was there, and they looked at me and they said, "Would you like to chair the meeting today?" And it kind of took me off guard. And yet I said, sure, I'll do that. And I did it. And it helped build my confidence. And being invited, if you tend to be one of the people that hangs back, a direct invitation, hey, would you like to do this today? Can make a big difference. So those are a couple of things that I wanted to just chime in on today. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. Excellent suggestions. And I agree. I think that mentoring is one of the things that can help get people involved in service, letting people know that support and instruction is available, that there's somebody there to hold your hand. I know that helped me a great deal to get involved in service. And I often think of the people who took the time to guide me gently into doing service. It is a big help. So that's an excellent suggestion. And thank you. Any other comments for Patrick? Any questions? Any thoughts? Any final words, Patrick?
Just that I appreciate everybody's input. Very good stuff. And after this meeting, you'll probably discuss or do you have a topic for next month's forum yet?
I don't know, James. Have we come up with a topic for next month's forum?
No, we have not.
Okay, so to be announced. There are links in the chat for how you can get on the tickler or reminder for this, and that will have the announce what the topic will be, along with links to where you can find the recordings of previous fellowship forum meetings or discussions. And this one will get posted probably by tomorrow. If you need to rehear anything that was mentioned here. Next month, our meeting will be on June 24th. Topic to be announced. The following month, July, we will skip July because that will be when the CoDA service conference is meeting. and we'll meet again in August. The last Saturday of every month is when we meet. We do try to announce a topic in advance. And of course, our meeting times are 12 noon Pacific and Arizona time during daylight saving time, 1 p.m. Mountain time, except during daylight savings time, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Atlantic, and hopefully we'll see you here. Tell your other CoDA Fellowship friends about our forum, because this is a place where you can share on your experience, strength, and hope in the program, as well as ask questions about the program. This is the forum, not a fellowship meeting. We take on topics about issues in CoDA and CoDA material, and we try to get speakers. If you are interested in being a speaker at this event, let us know. The contact email information is, I will put that in the chat. And thank you all for being here and participating in the fellowship forum today. And we'll close the meeting with the CoDA closing prayer, which I will read and share on the screen. You are welcome to unmute and say along with me. The CoDA closing prayer. We thank our higher power for all that we have received from this meeting. As we close, may we take with us the wisdom, love, acceptance, and hope of recovery. And with that, this meeting is concluded. I'll stop the recording. We're in fellowship.